Hola, cage fighting connoisseurs. This is Kid Nate, joined by Jane Simon at BloodyElbow.com for the sixth round look back at TUF 23 finale featuring the Women's Strawweight Championship between Joanna Jędrzejczyk and Cláudia Gadelha. The card was up and down. The championship fight was awesome.
Yeah, the card kind of sucked. Like, by the time we got to that Gadelha Jędrzejczyk fight, I was less excited for that fight than I was yesterday. Like, yesterday I was unbelievably excited, and then by the time we got to it, I was just like, oh, can we just, like, move it along and get to the fight? I don't care. And once Joanna stepped in the cage, then I was hyped up again, and then it was awesome. And then I almost forgot the whole rest of the evening because that fight was amazing. But
yeah, it was really everything you want from a championship fight. Had skill, strategy, drama. Both women had their characters tested to the utmost. Cláudia Gadelha fought the fight of her life for the first two rounds. She was doing everything she needed to do. She was landing vicious counter punches. She was getting the takedown. She was keeping her down. The thing she was doing with the figure four leg lock on one leg. I mean, technically, Joanna was in half guard, but I don't even have a name for that position. Is there a name for that position?
I usually just think of it as like chain wrestling. I mean, I think it's just.
But chain wrestling is when you chain one, take down a team after another.
It's a ride to me.
It's a ride. It's some kind of ride or Turk thing. I don't know. I'm sure there's a
start with the Turk crap. Then we'll know we're lost. Start calling it a Turk.
Yeah, I'll have to dig up Coach Reardon from the grave and from the MMA journalism grave and get his take on what we should call it. But it was a very good technique. It kept Joanna on down, not entirely on her back, but on her ass, and let Cláudia do good work with punches and elbows from the top position. But it was not enough. By the middle of the third round, Joanna's sizable striking advantage and sizable conditioning advantage made themselves known. She won unanimous decision 48-46, 48-45, 48-46. What's the math on the 48-45? 48-46 tells me
it would be 10-8 round 4 and 5 and winning round 3 10-9. That would be the math on the
and losing the first two.
Yeah, losing the first two, winning the last 3 with 10-8s in the last 2.
Okay. Very interesting scoring. I mean, it really seems like the judges have come along. We're seeing some 30-25 scores in the TUF finale that came right before it. So it seems like suddenly judges have gotten woke, like Newt Gingrich on racism in America. It's very strange to see. It's like this transformation in judging. I guess we've been seeing signs of it for a while, but this weekend is the first time I'm seeing a lot of it.
I think it also helps that, like, we had kind of a break before this big series of cards, and then we've got all these cards now that we're watching all these fights. And so things that, like, these are transitions that have slowly been coming along for the past few years. But now with all the attention that we're paying to these fights and all the excitement and all that, it really suddenly feels like it's standing out that we're seeing way less emphasis put on cage control and takedowns. And we are seeing more 10-8 rounds being scored. And I mean, I think we're just kind of seeing better judging. Like, I for a while now, I've been kind of the mindset that MMA judging is really not the biggest problem that we have in this sport.
No, to say the least. No.
And so I think we're really starting to see, I don't know, I think it feels kind of solid to me. There's always complaint about it, but like, there's always complaint about reffing and judging in every single sport. There's not one sport you can name where judging isn't a constant issue.
Football. There's no judges in football, but
like the catch rule, the refs and, like,
pass interference,
all that shit. Like, NBA refs are notoriously terrible.
Yeah, thumb on the scales.
Notoriously terrible. Like, you cannot pick a sport and talk about judging or refereeing and not talk about it being terrible all the time.
Yeah, but MMA judging has improved, and the main event was brilliant. I mean, like I said, everything you want in a fight. What did you think the turning point was in the fight?
I don't really think there was one. To me, it was sort of like you got, Gadelha did really great in the first round, and at the end of the first round, Joanna kind of fought back and really, came on strong at the end of the round. And then Gadelha did great in the second round, and at the end of the second round, Joanna started to come back, was doing well again, and it was just sort of like this slow osmosis of one person continually overtaking the other and the other person slowly dropping back more and more, so that as the fight went on, you didn't really get one turning point. You just kind of got Cadella. You really
Like
see
the tide
how
going out at the beach. I mean, it was
yeah.
Waves reach a certain crest, and then the next wave doesn't go as far, and the wave after that doesn't come as far, and pretty soon the beach is dry, and that's what happened. I mean, Gadella fought the fight of her life. She made adjustments. She definitely improved her striking game. It for a second, I think if she had finishing tools in her arsenal, that would work on Joanna. She's got submissions. She can finish fights, but at this level against Joanna, she cannot. And she had to pitch a perfect game to win this fight, and she couldn't quite do it.
I just think it's an incredible testament to how impossible Joanna is making it to beat her. Because you see an amazing athlete coming in with the perfect game plan, coming in with a better wrestling plan, coming in as a better striker, hitting takedowns, filling all the gaps with strikes.
Ground control, keeping her down after she gets her down, and landing damage from dominant positions.
Doing everything right. And yet, she had to fight so hard to make that happen that there was just no way she could keep doing it. There was no way whatsoever. And if you don't finish Jędrzejczyk early off of like a one-shot KO or some miracle sub, you are going to just get picked apart and broken down as the rounds go on, because she can keep fighting at whatever pace you set, and you can't.
Yeah, club and sub is the term we were looking for last night. And that would be about the only way I could see Cláudia Gadella beating Joanna Jędrzejczyk. It's the second time she's lost to her. I doubt there will be a rubber match. There's no need for one. And there's nobody comparable in the rest of the division that I'm seeing to Gadella as far as presenting a challenge to Joanna. Am I wrong?
Wait, as far as you said Brazilians? Or
no,
potential?
In the division.
Yeah, in the division.
Is there anybody as tough a challenge?
Yeah, I mean, the only questions would be if someone like Nama Yunus with another couple of years under her belt would have just the raw power and athletic burst to catch her. Like, you'd be really talking about, somebody just who can hit her with like a spinning wheel head kick or something random like that.
Jessica Andrade?
Jessica Andrade? Yeah, I mean, that would be the same kind of thing where you have somebody who has the power and who can push the same kind of pace as Gadella early. And, you're talking about, I think, the same kind of chance that Gadella had early in this fight, with perhaps more consistent high output combination punching. But it's still like, I do not trust Jessica Andrade to fight at that pace for 5 rounds. So if she does not get it done inside the first 2, you're looking at the same kind of thing. Like, I think that there are fighters who have I think there are fighters that can contend and make things fun. And I think that, Jędrzejczyk could lose. We saw her get hurt several times in this fight. So
yes. It's
not like the chances of her getting put out by a big shot are nil. But it's not going to be...
There's a serious chance of that. And like you said, she did not go unscathed. I mean, she took serious damage, and it's a testament to her mental fortitude that she was able to ride that out, stay focused, stick to her game plan. I mean, I cannot imagine the panicky feeling of being taken down by a grappler as dominant as Gadella, being held down, being hit on your feet. She was not expecting those counters, clearly.
No.
Not with that kind of pop, and testament to her chin as well. So great performance from Joanna Jędrzejczyk. I look forward to seeing her compete in the UFC, take the octagon to Poland. I hope they're able to pull that off next year. I have no idea if it's any kind of priority for their business or for the new owners, if they are new owners, but I would love to see it. Poland deserves it. It's a great MMA country. She, to me, is the most impressive women's champion we've seen yet. I mean, I would say Cyborg was very dominant, but the steroid thing and the career missteps have dogged that, and also the thinness of the 145-pound division. Rousey obviously had an impressive run, but I don't think the level of competition. You didn't see Ronda Rousey winning a fight like this ever.
No, yeah. I mean, I would say that Rousey still has that title for sheer dominance, just because
She put the
of the
run
way
together.
as the way she was able to put the stamp on so many fights so quickly is just
Yes.
unparalleled. But Rousey, it's certainly becoming a debate. I think it's becoming a heavy debate where Jacek wins another couple fights like this, and you're really going to be saying, okay, look, yeah, Rousey beat some very good fighters, but as the competition around her got better, she lost. Like,
Yeah. Jacek to me is at a much more advanced level of MMA. Like, to me, the 135-pound division, it's caught up. It's made enormous progress in the last year and a half. But the fact that a woman with basically, I mean, Ronda's more than a one-trick pony with the armbar, because we saw against Sarah McMahon and others, her striking game is serious. But you could not do that in the women's strawweight division at this point, where you have one skill and ride it to a dominant championship like that. I mean, Jacek is a fully rounded fighter. We haven't seen her submission game that much, but I mean, she can strike incredibly well, really good wrestling, good defensive grappling. I mean, it's a complete MMA game.
Yeah, I mean, the big difference I think of between 135 and 115 is that 135, women's 135, tends to look like a scaled back version of the men's MMA game. Something like we're seeing like 2005 men's MMA.
Yeah, if
And
not 1997.
yeah, and women's 115 looks like its own iteration. Like they have their own evolved game that is just different. It's like it's a separate but equal thing. Like they play the game differently. Some of the takedowns and the grappling works differently. Some of the combination striking works differently. There aren't as many knockouts, and there are people can take these women, because they're not punching as hard, can take more shots, and there's more emphasis on really fast combination striking. So it's a different game, but it's no worse to watch. Like it's every bit as thrilling.
Yeah, it's very entertaining. But let's turn to the rest of the card, and I cannot wait until the Ultimate Fighter ends. I mean, this series was the lowest rated in the show's history. These Ultimate Fighter finales, as good as this card was going in the first three fights of the main card, those two Ultimate Fighter fights, the women's fight wasn't bad because it was a one-round submission, but the second one was 3 rounds of utterly dominant lay and pray by Andrew Sanchez, beating Khalil Roundtree to get the light heavyweight Ultimate Fighter championship. But it was not entertaining.
It's a weird effect that these FS1 cards have, is that looking back over it, especially the main card, I'm like, wow, there were a lot of fun fights on that. But because of the pacing, because you get one fight per half hour and filler all in between, the fights that stick out to me are the god-awful boring ones.
Yeah, because they go on and on.
I forget about how fun Will Brooks versus Ross Pearson was, or even Suarez versus Cooper. But man, I remember that Roundtree Sanchez fight, and I remember that Mateus Nicolau versus John Moraga fight. Like those stand out hard.
Yeah, it just put a bummer on the whole evening. I mean, Fox Sports 1, God bless them, they got to make their money. The UFC is one of the few programs that makes money for them, so they just lard these broadcasts up with ads. But it makes me miss UFC on Spike TV in a big way. But again, if you took these two Ultimate Fighter fights off, it would dramatically improve the main card. We had Sanchez beat Roundtree for the Ultimate Fighter, and then you had Tatiana Suarez submit Amanda Cooper with the Darce choke. First round, 3 minutes 43 seconds to take the women's strawweight TUF title. Great performance from Suarez.
Yeah, Suarez looks like a legit good athlete with a power wrestling game, which is really rare for women's MMA, and she knows how to use it. She's aggressive, and unlike some of the other women we've seen who have some decent wrestling, Randa Marcos coming to mind most notably, or even Carla Esparza, like it really seems to be very much like a power game. Like she's driving through, and then when she's on top, she's really looking to work you over.
And
Whereas,
submit you. The Darce
yeah,
choke, those front headlock chokes, are a great weapon in the arsenal of a top control wrestler like that. I mean,
yep,
it changes that, it transforms that game from a control game, and you have to pitch a no hitter and win all the rounds, to a finishing game, and that changes everything.
yeah. So I'm really like what I'm seeing from Suarez, and I think she's a great addition. And Cooper is probably going to be better than she looked here too, because how many women can do what Suarez did? Like there are very few women who can fight like that. Cooper may still be a little too early in her career to have, like, we've seen a lot of athletic, young, and even decent striking women come through strawweight that just are not ready technically and have lost their way out of the UFC quickly. Cooper could be on that path, but I'm interested to see her fight more.
Yeah, definitely. And then we had a former Bellator champion, Will Brooks, come in, make his UFC debut against Ross Pearson, get a unanimous decision. It was a decision, but it was a very fun fight, very technical. Brooks's takedowns were slick, and I thought his striking was pretty solid as well.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, this is a weird fight for me because it was, first of all, I thought that Brooks got hurt by a punch in the first round. Apparently, that may have been a slip. I'm not sure. But watching it, I thought he got hurt. So I scored the first round for Pearson and the third round for Pearson. And
So you gave it to Pearson instead of Brooks.
I gave it to Pearson. But if Brooks didn't get hurt in the first, I'm fine with him winning the first. And I'm fine with him winning the fight. But either way, it is a fight where I'm like, it's not bad, but you do have something serious to work on right now. Because
a lot to work on.
That was a very close fight with Ross Pearson for a guy that people were talking about, like, this dude wins a couple fights and we want to see him in title contention. And you look at the other people that are beating Ross Pearson, and it's Francisco Trinaldo, Evan Dunham, Ally Quinta, Diego Sanchez, but whatever.
Yeah.
But Quinta, Dunham, and Trinaldo, they're all very decent lightweights, but they're like borderline top 15 lightweights. They're not people
is
right 12, at the cusp of title contention.
Yeah, Dunham's 13.
And Dunham and Quinta, especially, they both starched Pearson. So
yeah. If Brooks makes it in the top 15, that's a stretch to me. But I do think he's athletic enough, and the wrestling is there. The striking game is improving. I think there's potential for him to become a top 10 fighter in the UFC, and I look forward to seeing what he can do. But yeah, I think he's got quite a ways to go. Pearson, the wheels
he's early enough in his career to improve still. He's still like, this isn't like Eddie Alvarez where we're getting him for, like 10 years in and see what you can do, Eddie. Brooks is only about 5, maybe 6 years into his career, so he's got room to grow, and I expect him to. It'll just be, his striking needs to improve. His boxing needs to improve a lot.
Yes, quite a bit. And Pearson will test your boxing. I mean, the guy's got good boxing. But then we had, for me, one of the best performance of the night. The Korean Superboy, Doo-Ho Choi, starched Thiago Tavares first round, 2 minutes, 42 seconds, knocked him out. One of the prettiest right hands I have ever seen. I mean, it looked so effortless, and yet you could tell it had heat on the ball.
Yeah, I mean, I felt a little weird, like I was overhyping last time Doo-Ho Choi fought, and I was like, he's got that kind of Conor McGregor, Anderson Silva power.
Yes, but it comes from precision, like McGregor said. Precision is the key.
You really saw it in this fight where even if he's not quite the same technical fighter that they are, especially not the same takedown defense artist that they are, he 2 seconds standing at range and that fight was over. Like, you could see why Tavares was so desperate to just anything he could do to keep that fight from at range, because it took 2 seconds and he landed one shot, and it didn't even look you watch it like that looks so easy, and Tavares just folded up.
Yeah, and Tavares is not an easy out. I mean, he's
No.
got a long track record in the UFC. He's never really broke into that elite category, but dude is a serious gatekeeper. And yes, Superboy just blasted right past it. Who would you like to see next for Choi?
Well, he said Cub Swanson. I would love to see him fight Cub Swanson.
Swanson's
That
going
would
to
be.
fight.
Yeah, I know. Swanson's got a fight booked. I would love to see that fight if they could make it happen. Otherwise, man, it would be real. Like it would be too soon. I feel like, but at some point, he and Yair Rodriguez have to fight, right?
Now that would be fun. I think Rodriguez is a few steps ahead of where Choi is.
I don't know. I think that Choi's got more experience and he punches a lot harder. So
It's true. It's true. Rodriguez's game is a little flashy. I'm sorry. I'm a Yair Rodriguez mark. The kicks just.
I know. I would also be really happy to see him fight just somebody, maybe somebody. I mean, I hate to suggest it, but maybe somebody like a Darren Elkins or a Hakran Diaz kind of guy. Like he's fought the veteran who can only who has no chin now, but has a great takedown and grappling game. Now I'd like to see him fight somebody who is tough and who is put together. Like really see, are you a borderline top 10 fighter? Because that's where he's going to be after this. I mean,
yeah, I'd like to see him get the kind of test that Stephen Wonderboy Thompson got when he fought Matt Brown.
Yeah.
Which Thompson couldn't quite pass that test, but I think it improved him dramatically. And that, see, Swanson, I don't think is, I can see why Choi is wanting that fight because as powerful and dangerous as Swanson is, he doesn't have the precision. And I could see Superboy beating him. I could see numerous scenarios where Superboy.
You know what I'd really like to see, and this is for the exact opposite reason that you want to see. You would be picking Yair Rodriguez, as I'd love to see him fight Brian Ortega.
Elaborate.
Because I am totally not on the Brian Ortega hype train, and getting tons of hype, and his willingness to try and box with anybody, like. I would love to see that fight.
Yes, that would be fun. So yeah, so Doo Ho Choi is definitely a breath of fresh air in the featherweight division. What's the deal with mandatory military service?
I don't know. Maybe he's already passed his, but I have no idea.
25. You'd think that the military would have gotten their time, but as I recall,
Chan Sung Jung is in the middle of his, and so is what's his name? The not Hyung-Yu Lim, but the other guy down the card, Mr. Perfect. I can't remember his name now.
No idea. So they're going to be coming to gobble up a couple of years of Choi's career probably, and that's a bummer. But hey, you got to do what you got to do.
It might help actually because he started super young. Like he's got more experience than he needs for as young as he is. So a couple of years on the sidelines might not be the worst thing for him.
Interesting theory. But moving on down the card, you had a lightweight Joaquim Silva beat Andrew Holbrook with a first round 34-second KO. Not much to complain about with that one.
No. Joaquim Silva I think he has a real chance to be a dark horse guy that nobody saw coming because he's got a ton of power and a ton of athletic gifts, and it feels like he might be putting things together really quickly.
He certainly put them together on Holbrook. I thought Holbrook. I didn't pick Holbrook, but I thought it would be a much tougher fight than I did not anticipate.
I kind of thought this might happen because both these dudes are super powerful, super aggressive, and Holbrook, like he got dialed up by Ramsey Nijum in that fight on the feet. Like he just looked super wooden. So I knew there was a chance that Silva could do the same, but I'm happy to see it. Like it was fantastic.
Absolutely. And then you had 4 fights on the Fox Sports 1 prelims, headlined by Gray Maynard and Fernando Bruno. Maynard takes unanimous decision, 30-27 all 3 cards. I had Bruno winning the first round myself.
I had Maynard winning it. I think that
I definitely had Maynard winning the fight, but I didn't think he got a 30-27.
Bruno may have outlanded him slightly, or they landed really evenly, but I think Bruno got dropped 3 times in that round. To Maynard maybe 2. So that was why I gave it to Maynard, is that Bruno got stunned a couple more times.
Yeah, I can see that. I just thought that Bruno hurt Maynard worse, even though there were more knockdowns for Bruno. But
Yeah.
I got to say, I got to take back all the things I said about Maynard coming into this fight, because this was not peak Gray Maynard, but it was not the ghost of Gray Maynard like we've seen in the last couple of outings. I mean, he took some shots and survived, which I'm glad to see. He's got a little bit of chin.
I mean, I yes, I'm glad it was an awesome fight. So I'm really glad to see Gray Maynard do well, and I picked him, and I'm glad to see him do well. But it also, like, had he lost, this would have been a massive new low for Gray Maynard. Like,
Yes.
even much, much bigger low than losing to Alexander Yakovlev is, because Alexander Yakovlev is like a master of sport in wrestling and judo and hand-to-hand and boxing and all these things. And so when it was like a technical battle of Gray Maynard versus Yakovlev technique for technique, Yakovlev was just a step ahead. But Fernando Bruno, like, you saw how he punches. He punches like a wacky inflatable tube man in front of a car dealership.
With a little more pop in his punches. But yeah. And Maynard needed this because he'd lost 4 straight and 5 out of his last 6 with a draw before that. So he
hadn't won since 2013. Oh, since 2012.
2012. June 2012 was when he beat Clay Guida in a really bizarre performance.
In a terrible fight that he barely won. Like, Clay Guida almost beat Gray Maynard just by dancing around him.
Yeah, Guida solved the footwork puzzle, but then didn't know what to do once he had Maynard's timing figured out. I mean, he just didn't have the punching power to do anything with it. But yeah, he completely unmanned Maynard on the feet, except for the punching part. But yeah, so Maynard has not had, and for a guy who almost won the championship twice at UFC 125 and 136, and 2 of the best fights. If you have not seen Gray Maynard's second and third fights with Frankie Edgar, see those fights. They're on Fight Pass. They are incredible, vicious, brutal wars. I'm still bitter that those fights, beautiful pair of fights from 2011, did not get more attention and respect, because those are 2 of the most hellacious, wild, and crazy fights you'll ever see. And to me, Maynard's got a permanent place in MMA history for that. But sadly, it's one of those, dude came up short in the big fights and then went on a epic, historic skid. I cannot think of anybody that's gone on a comparable skid. I mean, losing 4 in a row that fast after fighting for the title twice in a row. I mean, damn.
Yeah, you're probably talking like Elvis Sinisic or somebody like that, who one of those random title challengers from the dark days that we barely remember fought for a title.
But he wasn't that good. I mean, Sinisic fluked into the title shot. But
I'm just saying that would be the kind of thing you'd be talking about, is some random nobody really remembers and who somehow fought for a title and then we never saw again.
Yeah.
Although I will always remember the King of Rock and Rumble, but whatever. That I think that Gray Maynard, it does seem like there's a part of him that just has never stopped thinking, I should be UFC lightweight champion right now.
Yeah.
And if that's always on your mind, it's hard to fight past that.
Yeah, and I really think his chin took several, notches down when Edgar knocked him down, and knocked him out in that second fight. But then before that, you had flyweight Mateus Nicolau beat John Moraga by split decision. What the hell? I mean, Moraga, that was not the John Moraga I was expecting to see.
Yeah, John Moraga came out looking to play. It looked like he wanted to do a counter-heavy game. Like, he was looking only to counter early, and then he tried to kind of feint Perrier into being aggressive so he could counter, and it just never happened. Perrier, or Nicolau rather, I'm looking at Sherdog, and Mateus Nicolau, he never, he's the inexperienced fighter. So I'm fine with him looking uncomfortable and not knowing what to do, and him wanting to counter, and him trying to wait Moraga out, because Moraga is the old veteran pro, and I mean, not old, but the veteran pro, and should be commanding this fight.
Yeah, I was cursing Greg Jackson and Mike Wigglejohn is what I was doing, but
Moraga doesn't train with them, does he? unless he's.
I thought he did. That's what they were
He's
saying.
an MMA Lab Arizona Combat
Okay,
Sports
well
guy.
then my bad. I was cursing Greg Jackson for no reason.
I love that your automatic default is to curse TriStar if they're Canadian or Greg or Jackson Winklejohn if they're from Arizona. Like it doesn't matter where they fight. It's just Canadian. Oh, another.
If it's a
TriStar,
boring fight,
dude.
I'm looking to blame Greg Jackson or Tristal. I mean, it's just it's a reflexive thing. But yeah, that was just a piss poor fight. It was painful to watch. Nicolau, I thought, deserved the win. Braga was pissed, but it is what it is.
I'm glad. Just glad Moraga lost because this is a dude that fought for a title. He should know better. He should have more to offer than that. He should know how to win rounds and how to win against somebody who's not offering any offense towards him. Yeah. And the fact that he doesn't, I would much rather see Nicolau get a bump off that and a chance to show something more next time out than Moraga, because he's been to the top. We've seen him get beat up by DJ.
Indeed. All right, then you had a light heavyweight Josh Stansbury beat Corey Hendricks majority decision. One of the judges had a 28-28 tie. What are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, it was an ugly, sloppy, tough fight. Whatever. I was fine with it. It was, but sooner forgotten the better.
Indeed. Not one to get your Fight Pass subscription activated for. Then you had middleweight Cesar Muchans Ferreira defeats Anthony Smith by unanimous decision. Another not that notable bout.
Yeah, Ferreira's fighting smarter and fighting safer. He's protecting his chin better. And Smith is just if you're a knockout artist and you are not an incredible athlete and you do not have incredible cardio, you're really not going to survive long at the UFC, because people tend to be tougher to knock out. You're not going to get those regional. Ferreira is about as undurable as they come in the UFC, and he was still able to survive Anthony Smith. And it just kind of takes away any interest I have in Smith, watching him just piss that fight down his leg.
Indeed.
He just got taken down over and over. Every time he threw 2 strikes, he got hit with a takedown.
Yeah, and he never made the adjustment. I mean, it's I tuned out the 4th or 5th time that happened. It was just very frustrating. But the 2 fights that were on Fight Pass, first up, Kevin Lee, TKO Jake Matthews, first round, 4 minutes, 6 seconds. Impressive performance from Kevin Lee.
Shockingly impressive performance by Kevin Lee. He usually, when he's dominant, it's kind of to a grinding decision of physical dominance. His wrestling looked fantastic. His wrestling game looks like it took a big step up. Matthews was clearly the better striker every time they were at range, but Lee has really added some great transition work into his wrestling and has really upped his striking game as a wrestler.
Yes.
And he put it on Matthews. It was a fantastic performance.
Yeah, when you have an athlete as powerful as Lee and he figures out the art of ground control that leaves him with an arm free to land effective strikes, that is a dangerous, dangerous beast. Now, if he would add some front chokes, top control chokes to that, he would be a real serious threat. I think he's becoming a serious threat anyway. So really fun to see that from Kevin Lee. And Jake Matthews, I've never been a believer in, and this did nothing to dispel that.
Yeah, I think he's going to be good down the line. He's a good athlete. He's really young. He's learning, but it's just the UFC is a ridiculously tough place to grow. And unfortunately, training out of your own gym in Australia is probably also not the best place to grow.
Yeah, no, and I don't know that there's a lot of better options in Australia. And then in the opener, you had Li Jingliang, KO Anton Zavir, first round, 2 minutes, 46 seconds. I did not see that one coming.
I thought that Jingliang, I thought he'd KO Zafir, but I didn't think it would be off that. Zafir maybe has some real chin issues, because those shots that looked like every ground and pound strike that anyone lands in any fight you'll ever see.
Yes.
And Zafir was immediately out.
Yeah. And so good win for the Leech. But let's get back to the women's strawweight title fight. Who's next? What's next for Joanna Jędrzejczyk from here?
Well, I think they're pumped. The UFC is smartly continuing to pump the brakes on Rose, which is good because she's not ready. I could actually see Calderwood getting the bump off that win over Valerie Letourneau. I don't think Calderwood is ready either. I don't, but I don't
Yeah,
know
but
that she
I
ever
don't
will
see any
be.
reason to wait on. I mean, like her
Yeah,
schedule doesn't need to dictate when she gets her title shot. She bumped up 5 places off that win. It was an impressive win, but yeah,
Calderwood could get it. Torres, well, actually, Torres just lost to Rose. So that wouldn't make any sense. But it really kind of may have, or Kowalkiewicz, if Kowalkiewicz beats Rose Namajunas, who's fighting. Namajunas versus Kowalkiewicz seems like a title eliminator. I could also just see if they want to keep busy Calderwood or Andrade if they really just feel like they don't have a better first option.
how do you handicap Kowalkiewicz's chances?
Against Namajunas or
No,
against
against if
oh
she gets past Namajunas.
against Joanna,
Yeah.
I have to pick Joanna. Kowalkiewicz she's high output, she's got fast hands, but she's also very hittable and stiff, and she hasn't shown finishing power to date.
Do you think she'll
And
get past Namajunas?
no, actually, I don't think she's a dynamic enough athlete. I mean, she could because we saw Namajunas. Like I thought Namajunas lost to Torres. So we've seen Namajunas get touched up by high volume strikers even without a lot of power. So I could see Kowalkiewicz beating her, but I don't know. It's going to be a close, tough fight. I'm really interested in it.
Yeah, and that'll be at UFC 201 on July 30th. I'm really if Kowalkiewicz wins and they have two Polish fighters fighting for UFC title, they've got to book that in Poland. That's it seems.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be just so awesome to do that. The
The,
Polish
the
fans.
big bonus with Kowalkiewicz is that she's calling out Joanna nonstop every fight afterward, saying, "I want this fight. I can beat her. I know it." So if she does keep winning, like there's definitely a natural storyline there to put her in that fight.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's our show. Remember, give us a thumbs up on YouTube. Subscribe to MMANation.com on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at KidNate, at the Zane Simon. Subscribe to MMA Nation on iTunes so you can get the audio without the ugly. Read us on bloodyelbow.com. We'll be back. I'll be back. Zane won't be back for the UFC 200 sixth round after Brock Lesnar, Mark Hunt. Actually, the women's bantamweight title is going to be the headliner Misha Tate versus Amanda Nunes. And so, and then Daniel Cormier will be fighting Anderson Silva. So I believe I'll be joined by Eddie Ricardo for that one. So come back tomorrow night and we'll have all that. And then I have no idea what happens in the UFC after that. I guess the McDonald versus Lineker fight night is coming up on July 13th. So we'll have all the previews for that stuff. So adios, MMA aficionados. Zane, enjoy your weekend and we'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.